What is good, YouTube? I am Odd Talks and Gaming. Today I'm bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duels replay. So this is actually a replay between, if you can't read, Clown Crowd, and I think this is Todd. I can't pronounce this. There's too many Z's in there. So Z-Boy. Tazaki? Oh man. All right, yeah, Z-Boy. So the decks that they're playing is going to be Skull Servants versus Spellproof Armor. Since we're in this new format, I figured I'd start showcasing you guys more of these, decks that are kind of being played more often. So Spellproof is one that's like being used a lot. I think it just won the Speed Duel League Showdown on Monday. So, and I think it was literally Spellproof versus Spellproof. So that was kind of crazy. And then I think Skull Servant's also a very good and top contender for this format. So I feel like this replay here is going to be able to showcase both of these decks for everybody. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. So we Clown Crowd here. He ends up beating Z-Boy and in the rock paper scissors. So we're going to draw our 5 cards. Let's show both. All right, so as you can see, this person's playing like Summoner's Art, Heat Waves, Books, Jinzos, like the average like spellproof stuff. Heat Waves are really cool in this deck. I like this card a lot. I personally wouldn't play it at my build, but I understand the people that do play it. And then Skull Servants, you all know how this deck plays. If you don't know how this deck plays, you're about to see. So this card here, Servants of the Fallen King, just dumps a level 3 or lower normal zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. So you dump your Skull Servants, that way your king gets stronger. He then T-sets. Actually, he sets all of his, like his entire hand. We go into Spellproof. We Summoner's Art and get Big Bird. We're going to summon the Big Bird and then set the Book of Moon and then attack into the set Skull Servant. We're going to draw for our turn and get into the King. Use our skill. We're going to dump the Skull Servant. What's our set book? Ooh. And then we're going to normal summon the King of the Skull Servant. And then attack into the Ally of Justice Colossus. We're going to book the Servant here. And then turn gets passed on to the opponent. The opponent tributes off the Big Bird and then summons the Jinzo. Sets the Zoma the Spirit. Oh man, this is not looking... Alright, so he's fine. And then attacks into the King of the Skull Servant. And then passes the turn off the opponent. I don't understand why he didn't just book here. I guess if you don't know, he's playing the Heat Wave until he plays the Heat Wave. Attacks directly for 2400. And then draws for turn, sets the Goblin Zombie, and then passes turn off to opponent. Opponent then uses Heat Wave again and summons Big Bird, attacks into the Goblin Zombie, and then the game is won. Clown Crowd admits defeat, and we're going on to our next game. This is game 2. And again, I feel like the play he could have done there was to book the Jinzo face down, Call of the Haunted back the Zombie Master. I feel like he would have been in such a better situation. And then he would also have had the Call of the Haunted or not Call of the Haunted, goddamn, the Haunted Shrine in Graveyard, so he could banish it to get back to Skull Servant. He would have just been in a better situation, all in all. We use the Servants of the Fallen King here, dumping the Skull Servant, setting the Goblin Zombie, setting the Cosmic Cyclones, and then passing turn off to the opponent. The opponent sets the Zoma, activates the Summoner's Art, adds the Big Bird, and then summons the Big Bird and sets 1 Book of Moon. The opponent then attacks into the Goblin Zombie. Goblin Zombie activates, allowing him to search for the second king in hand, and then opponent draws return, drawing into the Haunted Shrine. We use the effect of Servants of the Fallen King again, dumping the other Skull Servant. We have 1 more left in deck, and then what we're going to do here is set the Haunted Shrine, and then set the king. And then Zoma the Spirit is going to summon in defense mode. Big Bird is summoned again, and then he sets the other Book of Moon. Big Bird attacks into the Skull Servant, and then the Ally of Justice Colossus will attack directly. We then use the Haunted Shrine, Monster Reborning back out, the Goblin Zombie, and then the opponent attacks the Goblin Zombie, which will allow us to search for the other king. The opponent then attacks directly with the Zoma, to which we Cosmic Cyclone it, paying 1,000 life points, and then just banishing it from the field. Going on to our next turn, we draw into the Dust Tornado, set it face down, summon the King of the Skull Servant, and then attack into the Big Bird. The King ends up getting Book of Moon, turn gets passed off to the opponent, and then the opponent draws into the Zoma, activating Summoner's Art again, grabbing the other Big Bird, to which the Big Bird is able to get summoned, and then they set the Zoma, attacking into the defense monster with the Big Bird, King goes to graveyard, and then Hunter's Shrine activates, summoning back the Goblin Zombie. They attack into the Goblin Zombie, to which the Goblin Zombie then adds another Goblin Zombie to hand. And then the opponent goes out of the 2300. Dust Tornado is activated on end phase, popping the set Book of Moon, and then the opponent draws for turn, drawing into the Foolish. We use the King Servants of the Fallen King again, sending the Skull Servant to graveyard, and then setting the Foolish Burial. We then summon the King. This is why he was letting him die. I was so confused. So he's trying to get the 5,000 attack points. Oh man, what a ballsy move. Damn. All right, goes into battle phase and then attacks to Ally of Justice Colossalus, and then he drops all the way down to 1,300, taking 2,700 damage. That's crazy. Opponent draws into Heat Waves, switches both his monsters to defense mode, and he has Zoma set, right? Yeah. Summons the Kaiku, and then goes into the battle phase and ends up destroying both of the big birds in this play. Opponent draws for turn, drawing into the other Zoma, sets the Zoma, activates the Heat Wave, and then ends turn. We end up summoning the Zombina here, which couldn't be done because of Heat Wave, but okay. Oh, yeah. Alright, so he notices. Attacks directly with the King, and then they emit defeat. I don't know why he activated the Heat Wave there. I'm honestly kind of confused. So the reason why is because he had 2 sets of Zomas, and Clown Crowd had 700 life points. I don't think Zoma can be summoned under Heat Wave. I think it's considered an effect monster. Yeah, as an effect monster, right here. And so I don't know why he Heat Wave there, because he would have been in a great position, summoning both Zomas out with 700 life points, a Kaiku, and a 5,000 attack point Skull Servant. Like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you why he did that. Going into game 3 here. Clown Crowd, I think it's to go first here. So we set the Lost Wind and sets the 0 gravity. Use the Servants of the Fallen King, dumping the Skull Servant, T-setting the other Skull Servant. And then the opponent draws into the Soul Exchange. So our hand's Soul Exchange, Offerings, Heat Wave, Zoma, Ally, or Big Bird. And yeah, so pretty cracked hand, honestly. We do the duo set of Zoma and Offerings, battle into the said Skull Servant, and then pass turn off to the opponent, who draws into the Goblin Zombie. Using the effect of Servants of the Fallen King, dumping the last Skull Servant to the graveyard, and then we set the Goblin Zombie. That way, on our next turn, we can actually get to our Skull Servant. But it doesn't matter because our opponent plays Heat Waves. Heat Waves is then going to lock us out of not being able to play our newly searched Skull Servant. We draw the Skull Servant, and then the turn's passed on to us, drawing into the Zombina. We use Servants of the Fallen King again, even though there's no target. And then we just set the Zombina face down, and then pass turn off to the opponent. Opponent draws for turn, summons another big bird, and then attacks into the Zombina. Zombina's effect activates, summoning back out the Goblin Zombie. And then there's a Goblin Zombie is going to get sent to the graveyard by the other big bird. Goblin Zombie's effect activates, grabbing us the second king. Drawing for turn, we draw into the third copy of Goblin Zombie. Oh no, Zombina brought back. Alright. So we summon the King of the Skull Servant. Attack into Big Bird, but it doesn't matter. Offerings on the field. So we're going to send the king to the graveyard, and then the opponent's going to summon the Zoma at the end phase. Opponent draws for turn. Alright, going to main phase 1, Heat Wave is activated. Sets the Book of Moon, summons or flips the Zoma to attack mode, and then attacks directly for 2,300. 0 gravity is activated here, switching all those monsters to defense mode, and then we draw for turn, and it's Cosmic Cyclone. Using the Cosmic, we're going to pay the 1,000, pop in the face down Book of Moon that was set. Man, that sucks. So this Book of Moon shouldn't be here. He drew last turn after activating Offerings to the Doom, which prevents you from drawing during your draw phase. So he could have ultimately outed that Zoma here by paying the K. Damn. Summon the Kaiku under the Heat Wave. Sets the king. Draw for a turn. It ends up being the other Offerings here. As opponent switches both of the allies to attack mode. Switches the Zoma to attack, and then attacks into the defense monster. That being the King of the Skull Servant. Personally, I probably would have used king here. Ah, he does. Cool. If you can't tell, I'm not into this game yet. We use Lost Wind on the Zone of the Spirit. This is around the time when I end up actually coming into it here. So what happens with the Zoma is that it goes to the spell and trap card zone face up. It was a big question over here. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like a Jinzo, but you're just targeting the Zoma. So it goes face up in your spell and trap card zone, and it can't be activated again. It doesn't just become a monster at the end phase or anything like that. So it just takes up a spot in your zone. Um, Going on, the opponent passes on. And then we summon the King of the Skull Servant from our hand. Enter into battle phase. Attack the Colossalus. Opponent takes 700 life points because we're at 3k with the Kings in graveyard. Takes another 700. And then turn is passed off to the opponent who gets the Blowback Dragon. Soul Exchange is activated. Tributing the King of the Skull Servant. Blowback Dragon's effect is activated. Targeting the King of the Skull Servants again. And we get 2 heads. That's nuts. I'm still not in this, by the way. Oh, yeah, I am. I'm at top. So I draw for... The opponent draws for turn, sets the Zombina, and then they end up drawing into the Jinzo. Using the Blowback Dragon here, we're going to flip some coins again. End up getting the tails, and then we get a heads, and then we get a tails. Yeah. Sucks to suck, I guess. Attacks it to the Zombina. Zombina uses its effect of floating to the King of the Skull Servants. And then we draw for turn to the Foolish Burial. Summons a Kaiku. Enter into battle phase and then attack into the Blowback Dragon. Using the offerings here, we're going to destroy the King of the Skull Servant. And the opponent goes into draw phase. Does not draw this time. Alright, good. Standby, and then main phase 1. Using Blowback here, we flip our coins, getting the heads, and then getting the heads. I think he's successfully done this twice this game. That's crazy. Send the Kaiku to graveyard, and then takes 2300 direct damage. Drawing for turn, we draw into the other Goblin Zombie, set the Goblin Zombie, set the Foolish Burial. At this point, I feel like I would have still Foolished. That way I could have at least tried to draw something to get out of the game. Opponent flips coins again, gets a tails, gets a heads, and then lastly we get another heads. Like, this guy successfully used his card. He used Blowback Dragon 4 times this game, and then successfully got to call 3 times. Like, that is nuts. Uses the Blowback to pop the Goblin Zombie. And then, no target in deck. I guess that's why we didn't Foolish. Tributes the Blowback Dragon to prevent the trap card, which is Foolish Burial. And then attacks directly for 2400. And that's the match. That's game. So yeah, biggest thing take away from all of this, I really like this format right now. I think Skull Servants is a really strong deck. I think that Spellproof is also a very, very, very powerful deck, probably in our top 3 of this format. But I like I was saying, like, Skull Servants is still a top contender. Like, this deck is crazy, and he probably would have had game 1 if he had used the I keep wanting to call it the Haunted Shrine. And if he would have used that Haunted Shrine, he would have been able to special summon out the King from the graveyard. Instead of, trying to get to 5k. Game 2, the opponent uses Heat Wave, and then because he uses Heat Wave, he locks himself out of his Zomas, or he would have had game 2. And then in game 3 here, it didn't matter in the end, because the way that we outed the Goblin, or the Zoma of the Spirit, was with the Lost Wind. But if you activate Offerings to the Doomed, always remember to click the not be able to draw button. That's like usually right in this area while you're playing. That way you're not drawing for turn. It is considered cheating if you're in any sort of like constructed tournament or anything like that, and you get a judge call for drawing for turn, you do lose that game. You don't lose the match, but you do end up losing the game due to that. That's how it's ruled. It's kind of like drawing off a reckless greed. But yeah. Other than for that, though, guys, I hope you guys like this kind of content. I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. I've been seeing a really nice, increase in the viewership on my videos, so that's been really cool lately. I appreciate every single one of you, every one of the subscribers coming to the channel to subscribe. It honestly means the world to me. But I want you all to stay awesome and have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.